want to say a few words about the general election and campaigning and truth, because normally in Christian circles we're very keen on honesty, we're keen on truth. The truth shall set you free. And I think one of the things that strikes me is during the general election campaign, it's not so much the kind of politicians are actively lying, but they're being very, very guarded about the true needs of things. And my reflection will be really, on the one hand, you can think you can blame politicians, but really I think it's about democracy, and we the people have kind of created this situation. So going into the situation, that it's very difficult for the Conservative government because they're unpopular, and it's very hard for them to say anything new because they've been in power for 14 years. So they'll just kind of keep trotting out various bits of stuff. What do the other parties say? So I'm now looking at Labour and the Liberal Democrats. Well, they could say some quite interesting things, but as they're kind of ahead in the polls, it seems to me there's no motivation for them to say interesting things about the very difficult issues we face. And the reason is sort of haunted by the ghost of Theresa May. Now, Theresa May in 2017 was headed for a decent-sized majority. She had a 20% poll lead. And she, I think, off the back of that, thought, well, this is the time to do something radical. I'm actually going to win this election. Let us face up to some of the really difficult things, be honest with the British people. And one of the things she chose was social care for the elderly. And she said, we were putting our head into the sand for too long. This is an issue which is going to need a lot of money to deal with it, which is going to take taxpayers' money. And we're going to, ask you to pay more tax, certain groups to pay for that. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of that policy, at least I can't remember them now. So maybe, the execution of it wasn't the best, but as an issue and a sort of basic truth, I think it was absolutely valid. I think there is increased need amongst the elderly. We need to find a way of paying for that. I think it's got to be a more sensible contribution from the state, and we've been putting our heads in the sand for too long about it. So I felt that was kind of Theresa May being honest about what she was going to do and raising a difficult issue in a time from a position of strength, It was disastrous, people would often say from the Conservative Party, that from the moment of the release of that manifesto, that is when their poll lead started dropping. So I think the lesson politicians have taken is if you say anything about a difficult topic and how you're going to have to do a difficult solution, that will just cost you. So there are a bundle of kind of difficult issues which are, with global warming, spending on flood defences and environmental things is going to need to go up. There are very difficult things about the economy given the headwinds of the Ukraine war. No one says anything about the EU, even though clearly in 2016 it was a fascinating, passionately held issue, because even if they personally feel strongly about Europe, they know that if you're Labour or the Liberal Democrats, it's just a kind of vote loser, really. You avoid saying anything. And then, of course, tax, but you just try and don't give the opposition, the Conservatives a chance. So we're faced with people, I don't think they're lying, but they are avoiding being honest about the truth, which is a kind of tragedy. But it's a tragedy of our own democracy's making. And I think I can get frustrated on the one hand with the politicians for not being entirely straight about the kind of challenges of what's going to happen in the next 5 years, because I think government is going to be very, very difficult just because it's a difficult deck of cards you're dealt with. But if they say anything about it, they might just get punished. And I can understand why they feel that's the case. So in the next month, I think it's going to be sort of very frustrating listening to politicians. But before we get too angry about their kind of lack of honesty about the challenges ahead, I think we have to respect the fact that they just feel they're going to get punished for being honest about it. And that is a kind of trap of democracy's own making.